On the African savanna, it is not the lion or the leopard that holds the crown, but the African wild dog, the true apex hunter with the highest kill success rate. Known as the painted wolves for their striking coats and ironclad discipline, they are not only relentless in pursuing their prey, but also racing against the looming threat of extinction. Join us as we step into the dramatic world of one of the most elite predators ever to roam the African continent. The tiger is a solitary assassin armed with overwhelming strength, but when it faces a pack of African wild dogs, it comes up against a living collective machine. While a tiger can easily bring down any single opponent with one crushing blow, wild dogs rely on On the desolate savanna, the tiger fixes its gaze on the pack of wild dogs, roaring and striking out defensively as 12 predators tighten the circle. The dogs do not charge head-on. Instead, they bark relentlessly and feint from all sides, patiently luring their opponent into exhaustion. Hidden within the tall grass, the tiger snarls as it faces the encircling pack of wild dogs. Rather than rushing in, the dogs bark incessantly and bait their target, slowly draining its strength. The tiger launches a lightning-fast pounce, but the wild dog, armed with razor-sharp reflexes, twists away just in time. Thanks to its agility and explosive speed, it quickly breaks contact, leaving the ambush empty-handed. Along the edge of the woodland, the pack surrounds and brings down the water buck, using its signature pack tactics. Rather than ending it instantly, they maximize every second, feeding quickly to sustain the group under constant pressure from competing predators nearby. Despite its desperate resistance, the antelope ultimately succumbs to the relentless coordination and ruthless efficiency of the savanna's most elite hunters. Hippos are hot-tempered giants armed with jaws that can generate up to 1,800 pounds per square inch of crushing force, powerful enough to snap a small boat in half. Despite their bulky, slow-moving appearance, they become a true force of terror when African wild dogs dare to edge into river territory. In the rare clashes that follow, no matter how intelligent or coordinated the pack may be, they tread carefully around armor-thick skin and explosive aggression. One bone-crushing bite or a single full-body charge is enough for a hippo to shatter the pack's hunting formation, turning some of the savanna's most relentless killers into panicked fugitives in an instant. Along the riverbank, a pack of African wild dogs boldly surrounds a hippo, setting the stage for a tense standoff between relentless hunters and a hot-tempered giant. Even when outnumbered, the hippo stands its ground with commanding presence, wielding a 1,000-pound bite and hide thick enough to seem untouchable, ready to crush anything that dares invade its territory. Amid echoing barks and cautious probing snaps, the hippo looms like a living fortress, forcing even the blood-driven pack to think twice before risking a reckless attack. In the river, a massive hippo suddenly intervenes, driving the wild dogs away and forcing the young impala toward the bank. Yet this apparent rescue is nothing more than a fierce display of territorial defense. The outcome remains brutally unforgiving, exhausted, and vulnerable. The young antelope quickly falls back into the waiting jaws of the pack. Along the river's edge unfolds a chaotic and brutal symphony of the wild, where a desperate struggle for survival erupts among four species: wild dogs, hyenas, hippos, and an impala. It begins with a heart-stopping chase by the pack, forcing two impalas to break away. One is torn apart on land by the dog's ruthless coordination and the greedy opportunism of hyenas, while the other bolts into the lake in a last attempt to survive. But safety is an illusion. It plunges into another kind of hell, colliding with a herd of massive hippos fiercely defending their territory. Instead of refuge, the terrified impala faces thunderous, bone-shaking bites from the hippos, trapped in a tragic no-win scenario, raging giants in the water, relentless killers waiting on the shore. In the heart of the unforgiving savanna, there exists a predator that bows to no rival, drawing its strength from unity and unbreakable discipline. African wild dogs, the mottled ghosts of the plains, boast an astonishing hunting success rate, turning every chase into a symphony of strategy and speed. Join us as we explore the lives of the wildest warriors of the African continent, where loyalty and the instinct to survive become one. The African buffalo stands like a living fortress, crowned with sweeping steel-like horns and rippling muscle, powerful enough to smash through any barrier. Yet even this stubborn Iron King is pulled into a deadly game when it faces a pack of wild dogs, the disciplined phantoms of the savanna. What follows is a blazing clash between raw, solitary force and a relentless strategy of attrition, where the giant must brace itself against a tightening circle of tireless hunters that never ever give up. The pack's reckless taunting begins as they target a lone bull buffalo. Despite his overwhelming strength and massive horns, the dogs surround him, barking relentlessly and nipping from behind to throw him off balance. The giant's composure slowly unravels as the pack moves in seamless coordination, forcing him to pivot again and again in a desperate attempt to defend himself. This confrontation is not about an instant kill. It is a calculated test of endurance and nerves, a brutal display of how daring wild dogs can be when facing opponents many times their size. A pack of 21 wild dogs closes in, using sheer numbers and iron discipline to split a mother buffalo from her calf. Though the mother fights with desperate fury to defend her young, the predator's relentless strategy of wear and tear slowly drains the calf's strength. In the end, the young one collapses under the crushing pressure of a coordinated band of killers. The wild dogs launch a sudden siege on a herd of buffalo drinking along the riverbank. The pressure from these disciplined hunters sends the massive animals into chaos, shattering their formation and driving them into a frantic retreat. Out on the open savanna, a pack of African wild dogs targets a newborn buffalo calf. Exploiting the calf's fragility and a fleeting lapse in the mother's defense, the pack applies its relentless encirclement strategy to isolate and strike. Though the mother fights back with desperate intensity, the suffocating pressure of numbers and the pack's raw aggression render her defense futile. It is a harsh reminder of the law of the wild, where life barely begun is forced to confront death without warning. Baboons are cunning gladiators of the wild, armed with razor-sharp canines and a boldness that ranks among the fiercest on the savanna. Yet their individual ferocity is constantly tested against the iron discipline of African wild dogs. What unfolds is a breathless standoff between adaptive intelligence and brutal collective strategy, where survival instincts are pushed to their absolute limits. The wild dogs close in, tightening their circle, yet the dominant baboon refuses to flinch. Flashing his razor-sharp fangs and fueled by unrestrained aggression, he launches a bold counterattack, driving back every advance and forcing the predators to reconsider each step forward. The wild dogs encircle the baboon in a suffocating standoff. Though heavily outnumbered, the baboon holds his ground, baring his fangs and growling, fiercely determined to defend his position against the tightening ring of predators. The wild dogs spread out with calculated precision, sealing off every escape run and forming a deadly ring as their warning barks rise in chilling unison. The pressure of their coordinated encirclement is so intense that even a troop of baboons, despite their numbers, hesitates to make a single move. They huddle together, panic evident in their eyes, frozen in place, none daring to step forward or attempt to break the tightening perimeter. The leopard is a solitary assassin, a master of stealth and precision, yet even it must show caution in the face of the African wild dog's iron discipline. This is a life and death encounter between exceptional individual prowess and the devastating force of coordinated pack tactics. After discovering that a leopard has killed one of their young, the wild dogs unleash a wave of ruthless fury. Overwhelmed by the pack's relentless encirclement and sheer numbers, the solitary predator is forced into a fearful retreat, vanishing into the thick brush in a desperate bid to escape. Confronted by a suffocating ring and the pack's relentless group assault, the leopard makes a narrow and fortunate escape. Though completely outnumbered, it seizes a split-second advantage in the terrain to launch a life-saving burst of speed. In the heart of the chaotic ring, the leopard unleashes a lightning-fast bite, instantly crippling one wild dog in a single decisive strike. Even as thunderous barks erupt and the rest of the pack lunges in a frantic attempt to rescue their fallen comrade, the solitary predator does not waver. With terrifying strength and unyielding resolve, the leopard fights off the surrounding assaults while clamping down with lethal force, reasserting its status as one of the wild's most formidable assassins. Reversing roles from hunted to hunter, the leopard quietly stages a covert raid on the wild dog's den, while the pack lies fast asleep. With calculated cunning and masterful stealth, it carefully selects the most vulnerable target before making its move. This is nature's ultimate gamble, where there is no margin for error. A single misplaced sound could awaken the entire pack, instantly turning the hunt into a desperate escape, as the lone predator finds itself surrounded by the collective fury of its enemies. The journey of the African wild dog stands as a powerful testament to unity and the relentless instinct to survive. No matter how unforgiving the challenges, those mottled paws press forward, sustaining the untamed heartbeat of the African continent. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. so you won't miss the next extraordinary chapter from the wild. Hares are true sprinting athletes, built with powerful spring-loaded legs that let them pivot sharply at speeds of up to 70 kilometers per hour. In a life-or-death showdown with African wild dogs, the most relentless predators of the wild, the hare relies not only on speed, but on sharp instinct and strategy. It launches into dramatic zigzag leaps, switching directions in an instant, forcing even the most seasoned pack hunters to struggle to keep up through those brutal high-speed turns. On one side stands the tireless endurance of the pack. On the other, explosive agility and split-second reflexes, together creating a heart-stopping chase where speed becomes the razor-thin line between life and death. In Simbavati, young wild dogs reveal their killer instincts early as they work together to surround a hare. Even though they are not yet fully grown, they move with surprising coordination, bringing the prey down and turning the hunt into a dramatic real-life lesson in survival. Across a forest blanketed in white snow, a dramatic chase unfolds between a pack of wild dogs and a fleeing hare. Against the frozen backdrop, the relentless hunters move in perfect coordination, closing in on the small prey as it darts and swerves in a desperate fight for survival. Beneath the dry brush, a lightning-fast hunt ends in the raw brutality of instinct. The moment the hare is caught, the pack shows no hesitation. Each wild dog lunges in immediately. Driven by collective force, they pull in opposite directions, and within seconds, the small prey is torn apart. Right on the asphalt roads of Kruger, a pack of wild dogs puts its ruthless coordination on full display as it corners a hare. In a flash, the killers surge forward together, yanking the prey in different directions and bringing the hunt to a brutal end in just a matter of seconds. The warthog stands as a stubborn fighter of the grasslands, armed with sharp tusks and an unyielding fighting spirit. Yet that resilience is pushed to its ultimate test when a pack of African wild dogs, disciplined and relentless hunters, launches a brutal siege. What unfolds is a tense showdown between the warthog's solitary aggression and the pack's cunning collective strategy, where the line between life and death is separated by only a heartbeat. Across the cracked and sun-scorched savanna, a solitary warthog finds itself in grave peril as a pack of wild dogs steadily tightens its circle of fate. Amid swirling dust and blistering heat, the cunning predators seal off every possible escape route, forcing the warthog into a desperate life-or-death struggle against the raw brutality of nature. Beneath the blazing savanna sky, the warthog is driven into a final dead end as the pack of wild dogs tightens its fatal grip. Their ruthless encirclement strategy severs every last hope of escape, turning the struggle for survival into a brutal tragedy under the relentless assault of these highly disciplined killers. On the parched plains, the pack of wild dogs moves in seamless coordination to encircle and drain the strength of a solitary warthog. Relentless bites from multiple angles steadily neutralize every attempt at resistance, leaving the prey utterly trapped with no path to escape. Surrounded by the unforgiving hunters, the once defiant warrior of the savanna can now do little more than cling to life in fading desperation. Hyenas are relentless predators with bone-crushing jaws, always ready to use their powerful build to steal kills from other species. As long-standing rivals of African wild dogs, they spark fierce clashes between raw brute force and refined pack tactics. While a lone hyena can be terrifying, it still must think twice when faced with the seamless coordination and blistering speed of a wild dog pack. Traffic grinds to a halt as a fierce battle erupts between a pack of wild dogs and a group of hyenas right in the middle of the roadway. Both sides charge into a violent clash over territory and prey, creating a scene of pure chaos as growls and barking echo across the area. A fierce melee breaks out between a wild dog pack and a hyena along a rocky riverbank. Using the open terrain to their advantage, the dogs repeatedly surround their opponent, launching hit-and-run attacks from multiple directions. Despite the hyena's superior muscle strength and crushing jaws, it struggles to cope with the intense encirclement and the dog's well-timed razor-sharp bites. The wild dog pack launches a coordinated assault on a lone hyena along the rocky riverbank. Relying on the numerical advantage, they constantly close in and deliver sharp, well-placed bites from behind, forcing the hyena to struggle desperately just to defend itself. Capitalizing on their numbers and agility, the wild dog pack repeatedly delivers quick slicing bites from multiple angles, forcing the hyena into a defensive position. Despite its larger frame and immensely powerful jaws, the relentless pressure and sophisticated encirclement tactics leave the hyena fighting in sheer desperation just to stay alive. Relying on their numerical advantage, the pack works together to surround the target repeatedly, striking with dangerous bites from behind to wear it down. Despite its superior size, the hyena struggles to cope, resorting to a defensive crouch to shield its hindquarters as it fights to withstand the relentless pressure from all sides. The lion stands as the uncrowned king of the savanna, commanding overwhelming strength and unquestioned authority. Yet that dominance is constantly tested by the relentless harassment of African wild dogs, smaller predators, but fearless and extraordinarily tenacious. A lion can end a fight with a single crushing blow, while the wild dogs counter with guerrilla-style tactics and relentless endurance, turning the pressure back on a solitary king. This is more than a clash of power and intelligence. It is a dramatic showdown to determine who truly rules the wild. Stay with us as it unfolds. In a brutal moment that lays bare the harsh reality of nature, a male lion raids a wild dog den. Seizing the opportunity while the adults are away, the ruler of the savanna moves in to eliminate the pups, removing future competition before it has the chance to grow. There is no mercy here. The footage stands as stark proof of an endless war for survival where top predators seek to destroy one another from the very beginning of life. In a heart-stopping rescue, the wild dogs push their team spirit to the absolute limit. When one member of the pack is seized by a lion, they do not scatter in fear. Instead, they turn back and charge in. Barking loudly, darting from multiple angles, they harass and distract the lion, creating a storm of chaos around it. That courage and flawless coordination force the predator to lose focus, opening a miraculous window of survival for their packmate, even in the jaws of death. In a bloody and highly charged act of retaliation, a pack of wild dogs surrounds and attacks a lioness and her cub. Long accustomed to being dominated by lions, the pack seizes this rare moment of numerical superiority, closing in and launching a relentless assault. The lioness fights desperately to shield her young, but the ferocity of the dogs turns the pursuit into a brutal and unforgiving battle of revenge. On the sun-scorched plains of Botswana, a fierce clash unfolds between a lion and a pack of wild dogs. Even when confronted with the overwhelming power of the king of beasts, the dogs refuse to back down, moving in seamless coordination to encircle and harass their opponent. Amid swirling dust and relentless heat, the battle highlights a striking contrast between solitary strength and the refined precision of pack strategy. The honey badger is the savanna's ultimate daredevil, armed with near impenetrable skin and a ferocious fighting spirit. Even when surrounded by a wild dog pack, this lone warrior stands its ground with savage aggression. An amusing yet fascinating encounter unfolds between an African wild dog pack and the fearless honey badger. Despite being outnumbered, the tiny warrior snarls relentlessly, forcing the dogs to withdraw in stunned disbelief. The wild dog pack ultimately yields to the honey badger's sheer stubbornness. Even while surrounded, the badger fights back with relentless aggression, forcing the dogs to retreat. Under the scorching savanna sun, a wild dog pack lays siege, but is forced to concede. Fueled by raw aggression and zero fear, the honey badger compels the pack to retreat in frustration. The wild dog pack is left completely outmatched by the honey badger's ferocity and resolve. Despite being outnumbered, the badger snarls non-stop and launches defiant counterattacks. Baboons stand as arrogant rulers of the savanna, armed with sharp intelligence and canine teeth longer than those of a leopard. Yet even their ferocity is put to the test when they face the ruthless pack tactics of African wild dogs. On one side are cunning, powerful primates. On the other, a disciplined hunting machine. This clash is not merely a fight for territory, but a brutal anthem of survival played out on the open plains. A tense standoff unfolds between the wild dog pack and the baboons, with both sides exercising extreme caution. Rather than launching an attack, they hold a careful distance, testing one another's resolve. The male baboons form a defensive line on watch, while the wild dogs quietly observe before choosing to withdraw, avoiding an unnecessary confrontation. It is a dramatic battle of minds fought through unbroken eye contact instead of teeth and claws. An unexpected encounter unfolds as a baboon boldly charges forward, taunting and pressing into the wild dog pack. Instead of giving chase, the dogs appear momentarily confused, repeatedly backing away in the face of the confidence and audacity of an animal that would normally be considered prey. Under relentless pursuit from the aggressive wild dogs, the baboon troop scrambles up into the high branches to escape. From their safe vantage point above, the baboons roar and threaten in defiance, while the ground-bound hunters are left powerless, forced to watch from below. The leopard, a solitary phantom of the savanna, embodies refined precision and raw power, armed with elite hunting skills and the ability to vanish seamlessly into the shadows. Yet even this lone assassin must exercise caution when confronted by the iron discipline of an African wild dog pack, where individual brilliance is challenged by ruthless coordinated pack tactics. The leopard, often harassed and driven off by wild dogs, now takes the initiative and goes on the hunt. Exploiting the moment when the pack lies in deep sleep after a long, exhausting day, it approaches silently, relying on flawless stealth. Beneath the tree, the wild dog pack attempts to steal the leopard family's hard-earned meal. Using their numerical advantage, the aggressive pack surrounds the scene and applies constant pressure, determined to force the mother leopard to abandon her prey. A heart-pounding escape unfolds as the leopard is caught in the deadly encirclement of a wild dog pack. Overwhelmed by their aggressive coordinated tactics, the leopard is forced to sprint into the dense brush by the narrowest of margins, evading lethal bites in a desperate bid for survival. If the African wild dog represents discipline, then the hyena is the embodiment of brute force and cunning. Armed with bone-crushing jaws, the hyena stands as a lifelong rival, always ready to steal the hard-earned prize of the pack. Their encounters are not just fights over a carcass, but explosive clashes between coordinated strategy and terrifying resilience. Let's see which predator will truly dominate the savanna in this showdown. Along the damp riverbank, an unthinkable scene unfolds. A lion suddenly steps in to rescue a pregnant hyena from the tightening circle of wild dogs. As the exhausted hyena is relentlessly attacked by the aggressive pack, the arrival of the king of beasts completely shifts the balance of power. It may not have been an act of mercy, but the lion's intervention becomes an unexpected shield, allowing the hyena to escape death by mere inches. This is no longer a routine chase. Both sides collide head-on, trading bites and swipes like a full-blown boxing match. In the swirling dust, the pack relies on speed and agility to harass and overwhelm, while the lone hyena braces itself, absorbing the assault and striking back with raw, muscular power. In the end, fear takes over, and the hyena breaks away, scrambling to find an escape. Surrounded by a cloud of dust and hemmed in on all sides, the lone hyena fights back fiercely against snapping jaws coming from every direction. Under the suffocating pressure of overwhelming numbers, it has no choice but to retreat, plunging into the water in a desperate bid for one last chance at survival. Along the riverbank, the wild dog pack has just wrapped up a dramatic chase, bringing down a young antelope right in the water. But their victory is short-lived as the commotion draws in the true professionals of theft, the hyenas. A fierce battle over the carcass erupts in the rushing current, turning the scene into pure chaos, filled with snarls and white spray exploding in every direction. One side fights to defend the hard-earned reward of teamwork, while the other unleashes brute force to seize it, laying bare the unforgiving laws of survival in the wild. In the end, the hyena clan overpowers the pack and claims the kill. At a quiet waterhole on the edge of the forest, a fierce confrontation erupts between the savanna's two most notorious gangs, the hyenas and the wild dog. Drawn together by thirst and the promise of a meal, the watering hole quickly transforms into an arena of growls and thunderous bites. The wild dogs rely on speed and coordinated encirclement, while the hyenas stand their ground, using sheer brute strength as their shield. At the Simbambili Game Reserve, a fight over a rotting carcass quickly escalates into an all-out battle. The wild dog pack deploys speed and seamless coordination to encircle their rivals, while the hyenas fire back with brute force and their chilling, taunting laughter. The air grows thick with snarls and thunderous snaps, laying bare the sheer brutality that unfolds when two top predators clash face to face. The waterbuck stands like a calm giant at the edge of danger, its thick, oil-coated coat allowing it to move confidently through the water. But that calm is often shattered by the piercing calls of African wild dogs, the tireless hunters of the savanna. When the chase begins, instead of exhausting itself on open ground, the waterbuck makes a bold survival choice. It charges straight into the deep marsh. In the water, it uses its towering build to hold its ground, facing off against a pack that hesitates at the thought of hidden predators like crocodiles. What unfolds is a nerve-wracking battle of strategy pack endurance versus the prey's instinct to choose the terrain that gives it the best chance to survive. The first round erupts in dramatic fashion between a fierce pack of wild dogs and a lone female waterbuck. Surrounded on all sides, she remains remarkably composed, using her height and solid build to shield her vulnerable areas. As the pack presses in with relentless pressure and probing bites, she fires back with raw strength, driving them away and breaking their circle. Round one ends in her favor. She successfully defends herself, forcing even the determined pack to pull back from what has become a living fortress in the water. The pack drives the waterbuck down toward the deep dam. Facing a tightening ring on land, the antelope makes a do-or-die decision, charging straight into the water to neutralize the pack's coordinated tactics. There, it plants its long legs firmly beneath the surface, turning the water into a defensive trench, while the dogs can only pace helplessly along the shore. It's a masterclass in strategy, a powerful reminder of how instinct and smart use of terrain can mean the difference between life and death against some of the most relentless predators in the wild. Standing on the razor's edge between life and death, it doesn't just defend, it's ready to lower its sharp horns and drive back any predator bold enough to charge. This is a breathless battle of strategy where the pack's relentless persistence collides with a prey animal's instinctive, intelligent use of terrain to fight for survival. Under the scorching heat of the open savanna, a water buck summons every last ounce of strength in a stunning bid for survival, plunging into the water and attempting to drown its pursuer. In a moment of sheer desperation, it turns its massive frame into a weapon, using the water itself to strike back against the highly skilled pack of wild dogs. It's a dramatic reversal where the raw instinct to survive forces the prey to become the aggressor in a final defiant fight for its last chance at life. The warthog is the savanna's stubborn brawler, armed with razor-sharp tusks and a fearless, defiant nature. But that courage is pushed to its absolute limit when it falls into the sights of an African wild dog pack ruthless ghosts of the plains that bring down prey through relentless siege tactics. A heart-pounding battle of wits unfolds. Can the warthog's tough, bristled armor save it from the jaws of the most disciplined hunters on the African continent? The wild dog pack fans out and tightens the noose, trapping the warthog amid clouds of savanna dust. The striped killers take turns striking and retreating, wearing their target down and forcing it into desperate, exhausting maneuvers. Face to face with death, the warthog lashes out wildly with its razor-sharp tusks, refusing to surrender to the ferocity of the relentless pack. The wild dogs seal off the burrow's entrance patiently, waiting for the warthog, the stubborn fighter, to emerge from the darkness. Inside, the warthog backs deeper into the den, bracing its razor-sharp tusks outward like a living shield in a final stand. Then, in a flash of speed and instinct, it bursts free from the burrow, escaping in a move that leaves the pack momentarily stunned. At the waterhole, the warthog is driven into complete desperation as the wild dogs close in for the final encirclement. With every escape route cut off, the stubborn fighter is ultimately overwhelmed, falling into the ruthless jaws of nature's most coordinated pack hunters. Under the scorching sun of the parched savanna, a lone warthog is pushed into a deadly corner as the wild dog pack tightens its lethal ring. Amid searing heat and swirling dust, the striped predators cut off every possible escape, turning the warthog's struggle for survival into a desperate last stand against relentless jaws and claws. The wild dog pack closes in repeatedly, using harassment tactics to provoke their opponent, while the crocodile remains ominously still, displaying its deadly jaws. It is a nerve-wracking battle of wits between land-based special forces and a waterborne assassin unfolding right at the edge of survival. Across the parched savanna, the wild dog pack executes its brutal siege with cold precision, tightening the circle around the helpless warthog step by step. Striking in relentless rotation from every direction, they drain its strength and extinguish any hope of escape until the animal is left barely breathing beneath the unyielding pressure of its enemies. Crocodiles may be feared as ruthless killers with bone-crushing bites, but they are often forced to think twice when facing the sharp intelligence of African wild dogs. In a direct confrontation, raw brute force is challenged by lightning-fast speed and guerrilla-style tactics from these elite operatives of the savanna. This is a dramatic showdown between armored power beneath the water and coordinated pack intelligence on land. The opening scene delivers a heart-stopping confrontation between nature's brutality and unbreakable teamwork. When one member of the African wild dog pack is suddenly seized by a massive crocodile and dragged beneath the water, the pack does not flee. Instead, they immediately rush back surrounding the riverbank. Barking relentlessly, sprinting along the shoreline, and probing every possible opening, they harass the aquatic monster in search of a chance to rescue their team. This moment stands as powerful proof of the extraordinary family bond that allows African wild dogs to survive in some of the harshest environments on Earth. A massive crocodile suddenly emerges, snatching the prey right from under the noses of the African wild dog pack. Despite their relentless harassment and furious barking, the overwhelming power of this aquatic monster leaves them helpless as their hard-earned catch is dragged down into the depths of the river. A heart-stopping moment unfolds as a crocodile hidden beneath the water suddenly lunges at a pack of African wild dogs drinking along the riverbank. In a split second, razor-sharp reflexes and incredible agility allow the entire pack to escape the deadly jaws of this swamp assassin. It is a dramatic encounter that reveals just how thin the line is between life and death on the savanna. The wild dog pack relies on speed and agility to harass their opponent, while the crocodile depends on its thick armor and bone-crushing bite to maintain its dominance. The wild dog pack closes in repeatedly using harassment tactics to provoke their opponent, while the crocodile remains ominously still, displaying its deadly jaws. It is a nerve-wracking battle of wits between land-based special forces and a waterborne assassin unfolding right at the edge of survival. These falls are not merely accidents. They stand as powerful reminders of nature's harsh reality and the physical limits even the most formidable predators can. Lions stand as the proud kings of the savanna, armed with overwhelming muscle power and a roar that strikes fear into every creature nearby. Living in highly disciplined prides, they are apex predators capable of bringing down massive prey with explosive precision. Yet despite their absolute dominance, even the king can be visibly irritated by the bold and relentless harassment of the cunning African wild dog pack. As the wild dog pack relentlessly surrounds and attacks a pregnant hyena, a lion suddenly appears and drives them away. This act is not an act of mercy, but a clear display of dominance from the true ruler of the savanna, unintentionally sparing the weaker animal from an imminent death. The lion takes direct action to punish the wild dog pack by attacking a pup. This is not simple predation, but a brutal act of retaliation aimed at eliminating a future rival. It is a harsh reminder of the unforgiving laws of survival, where the dominant ruler is willing to destroy the enemy's offspring to protect its absolute reign. A nerve-wracking confrontation unfolds as the wild dog pack boldly surrounds a male lion, using their numbers to provoke him. Despite being encircled by these swift and relentless special forces, the lion holds his ground with regal authority, unleashing thunderous swipes to warn and intimidate his challengers. Despite holding an overwhelming advantage in raw strength, the lion still struggles against the speed and intelligent tactics of the wild dogs. Antelopes. The track athletes of the savanna are built with slender legs and blistering speed, allowing them to evade most lightning-fast ambushes by predators. Yet against the relentless persistence of African wild dogs, speed alone is never enough, turning the chase into a deadly marathon of endurance. The wild dog pack brings down its prey with terrifying speed. Unlike big cats that rely on a suffocating bite, wild dogs tear the prey apart while it is still alive to minimize feeding time. Along the riverbank, a wild dog pack chases down and brings down an impala. With speed and precise coordination, the dogs quickly overwhelm their target, finishing the kill in nature's most instinctive way. A dramatic siege unfolds as a wild dog pack targets a massive sable antelope. Despite relentless encirclement, the dogs struggle against the antelope's resilience and its long, razor-sharp horns. A rare and harrowing scene unfolds as an antelope is trapped between two deadly threats. It lashes out to escape a hippopotamus in the water, only to face a wild dog pack waiting on the shore. Wildebeest are endurance athletes of the plains, built with powerful muscles and sharp curved horns, ready to crush obstacles along their great migrations. They rely on sheer numbers and bone-shaking kicks to defend themselves in a savanna filled with danger. Yet even this living wall of flesh begins to tremble when the striped shadows of African wild dogs appear, launching a patient siege, searching relentlessly for even the smallest opening to bring their prey down. In a breathless chase, the wild dog pack works in flawless coordination to bring down a massive wildebeest. Using speed and relentless endurance, they strike again and again at vulnerable points, driving the exhausted animal to collapse powerless to fight back. Traffic grinds to a halt as a fierce battle erupts between a pack of wild dogs and a group of hyenas right in the middle of the roadway. Both sides charge into a violent clash over territory and prey, creating a scene of pure chaos as growls and barking echo across the area. The chase erupts in dramatic fashion as the pack spreads into formation, pressing in again and again to grind down the prey's stamina over long distances. Despite the wildebeest's overwhelming size and strength, it cannot break free from the layered encirclement that steadily closes in around it. Within the dense ring of attackers, the wildebeest stands firm like a living fortress, wielding its sharp horns and powerful rear kicks to repel every assault. Despite repeated attempts to probe for weakness and strike from the edges, the wild dogs find themselves unable to breach the solid defenses of the towering giant. The zebra is a symbol of speed marked by its iconic stripes and armed with a devastating rear kick capable of delivering lethal force. Although the dogs rely on relentless pursuit, a zebra can still force them to retreat with well-timed crushing kicks. The zebra strikes fear into the wild dog pack by boldly counterattacking with thunderous rear kicks and savage bites. Its sheer aggression shatters the encirclement, forcing the relentless predators to scatter and pull back. At the water's edge, as a pack of wild dogs closes in to kill a helpless antelope, a zebra suddenly charges in to intervene. Using its powerful body and crushing kicks, the zebra drives the predators back in a dramatic confrontation. In Londolozi, the wild dog pack is seen simultaneously chasing a zebra while aggressively stealing a kill from a leopard. Overwhelmed by sheer numbers and relentless pressure, the leopard is forced to retreat and surrender its prey. Along the forest edge, a fierce pack of wild dogs surges forward aggressively, driving a herd of zebras out of the territory. Faced with the predator's determination, the zebras choose to pull back and avoid a deadly confrontation. Beneath the scorching sun of the blazing savanna, the wild dogs move in like silent gray phantoms, spreading fear through the zebra herd. The thunder of hooves shatters the stillness as a breathless chase unfolds between survival and death. African elephants are the wise giants of the wild, possessing remarkable intelligence and tightly bonded family structures. Weighing up to 6 tons and armed with powerful tusks, they stand as symbols of immense strength, capable of reshaping the very landscape of the savanna. Yet even these living fortresses are not entirely free from danger. In rare confrontations, cunning packs of African wild dogs may attempt harassment tactics targeting vulnerable calves. In response, the elephant herd swiftly forms a defensive wall, using their massive bodies as an unbreakable shield to drive back the small but relentless predators. At the Sabuti waterhole in Botswana, a fascinating standoff unfolds as a solitary giant comes face to face with a relentless pack of painted wolves. Driven by a territorial instinct over the precious water source, the elephant repeatedly bellows and launches mock charges in an effort to intimidate the intruders. Yet, rather than retreat in fear, the wild dogs display striking confidence. Using their agility to their advantage, they swiftly dodge and weave, circling the elephant's legs in what appears almost like a high-speed game. This encounter is not one of lethal force, but rather a battle of wits, a clash between commanding strength and cunning agility, where in the end, the elephant begrudgingly accepts the presence of his small, yet remarkably bold neighbor. The entire elephant herd forms a unified front to protect its youngest member. Unlike the solitary nature of a bull elephant, the adult females stand shoulder to shoulder, trumpeting in warning and surging forward together like an unbreakable wall of living force. Faced with overwhelming power and thunderous roars that seem to shake the ground itself, the pack of wild dogs quickly recognizes the danger and is forced to retreat. At the waterhole, the elephant wields his trunk and unleashes forceful mock charges to assert dominance, determined to keep exclusive control over the vital water source. Yet the wild dogs remain unfazed. They scatter strategically, using their speed to circle and taunt the towering giant. This confrontation becomes a striking intersection of raw power and cunning agility, revealing the tense boundary that exists between species in the relentless struggle for survival resources. At the Bush House waterhole, a massive bull elephant erupts in fury at the sight of a pack of wild dogs occupying his space. This is no routine warning. The enraged giant charges head-on at full speed, trumpeting thunderously and slamming his trunk against the water in a powerful display of dominance. Confronted with the overwhelming force of the furious behemoth, even the swift and agile wild dogs have no choice but to scatter quickly to avoid being crushed. A herd of elephants steps in to rescue a hippopotamus that has been surrounded by a pack of wild dogs. As the predators press their relentless attack, the commanding arrival of the elephants, marked by thunderous trumpets and forceful charges, sends the wild dogs into a sudden panic, driving them to retreat in haste. Across the vast grasslands, antelopes appear like proud whirlwinds, capable of explosive bursts of speed to escape the jaws of death. Yet even this remarkable advantage becomes fragile against the pragmatic and relentless hunting style of African wild dogs. Rather than relying on a single lightning-fast strike, the pack turns the chase into a brutal endurance trial, pursuing their target without mercy until it is completely exhausted. It is a ruthless contest between the elegance of swift-pounding hooves and the persistent, coordinated strategy of predators that simply do not tire. A pack of wild dogs corners an antelope at the very edge of a cliff. Caught on the razor's edge between life and death, the prey faces an impossible choice: confront the bloodthirsty jaws closing in, or risk a desperate leap into the sheer abyss below. Working in seamless coordination, the pack of wild dogs brings down its target with chilling speed and precision. Rather than delivering a suffocating throat bite like the big cats, they immediately begin tearing into their prey, wasting no time in order to consume their kill before rival predators arrive on the scene. Along the riverbank, a pack of wild dogs surrounds and brings down a helpless impala. With superior speed and flawless coordination, they swiftly overpower and dispatch their target, acting in accordance with the unforgiving laws of survival that govern the wild. In a suffocating siege, a pack of wild dogs sets its sights on a powerful sable antelope. Despite their numbers and relentless encirclement tactics, the dogs hesitate in the face of the antelope's steely resolve and its long, formidable horns. The encounter becomes a grueling test of courage and skill, a clash between cunning predators and a proud warrior of the savanna that refuses to yield. Capitalizing on their numbers and agility, the wild dog pack repeatedly delivers quick slicing bites from multiple angles, forcing the hyena into a defensive position. Despite its larger frame and immensely powerful jaws, the relentless pressure and sophisticated encirclement tactics leave the hyena fighting in sheer desperation just to stay alive.